four people on a vehicle watching one scene play out in front of us. And each one of those individuals is going to take something different from that moment. Or it's going to remind each certain individual about a time in their childhood or something, or maybe one's looking at something beautiful, but one's noticing the smell. Being able to put people in situations where their senses are all awakened again. We're so conditioned to the life that we live now and the fast pace of the world, and it's go, go, go all the time, and we lose track of ourselves. That when you I always want to say revert back to analog in a digital world. If we can just unplug a little bit and ground ourselves, you find that you start to use your sense of smell again properly for what it was intended for back in the day. It's like survival,
Welcome to yet another episode of Behind Greatness by Inspire. I'm here with another guest from the other side of the ocean. His name is Cameron Scott. He's the owner and founder of Royal Ngala Safaris and a passionate storyteller through his lens. Cameron is a professional photographer and nature guide dedicated to fostering authentic and ethical connections between his clients and the African wilderness. Since entering the luxury safari industry in 2013, he has guided travelers across the continent, sharing his profound knowledge and reverence for Mother Nature. With a deep commitment to sustainable practices, he believes in creating transformative experiences that not only reveal Africa's majestic beauty, but also honor and protect it. Cameron's guiding ethos, quote unquote, stay wild, serves as a reminder to reconnect with our roots, to see the adventure in every moment, and to embrace the wild essence that unites all living beings in the shared world we call home. I'll put it in the show notes. RoyalNgala.com is his website, and you can reach him there through all kinds of methods, social media. Welcome to the show, Cameron.
Thanks, Michelle. Thanks for having me again.
Again. Well, this is the first time we're recording, but yes, again, because we've chatted.
You know what I mean. Nice to see you
chatted
again.
a few times. Yeah, 100%. But I wanted to highlight the fact that we've chatted a few times, dude. I grew up in Toronto, in the city. You didn't, and that's what also fascinates me about you. It's like you have a completely different identity on the same planet we call home, but you, as you say, you've been charged by every one of the 5 big predators. And I haven't.
Yeah, the big 5. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, okay, let's start there. I can guess the 5 big predators.
When you hear big 5, as it pertains to Africa, there's 5 animals, right? And they're not all predators. 2 of them are. 3 are actually herbivores. Don't eat meat at all. But the name Big 5 was given originally to the 5 most dangerous animals to hunt on foot. So back in the day when guys were out coming to Africa on foot with a rifle or whatever it was, these 5 animals were considered the most dangerous, because if you didn't get your shot right or something went wrong, there's a good chance you weren't going to make it out of that hunt alive. So lion, leopard, Cape buffalo, our buffalo we get you, elephant, rhino. That's the 5. Lion, leopard,
that all makes
buffalo,
sense.
Elephant, and the rhinoceros. Originally the black rhinoceros. We got the black and the white. Same color, if people don't know what they look like. One's not black, one's not white. They're both gray. But the black has a hell of a temper. Slightly smaller, very aggressive. So that was the original one, and the white one eventually just became part of the Big 5 as well.
Oh, okay. That reminds me also that one of the first times we connected on WhatsApp, you had to delay one of our chats, or you had to move one of our chats because you were in the middle of something, and you sent me the video of what you were in the middle of. And that was like, there was like 5 guys and you were filming it was a rhino. You were filming the movement of a rhino? Because I shared it with my nephews. What? This is the guy we're talking
one, maybe. I think we were darting a rhino and doing a rhino horn chipping. So yeah. So I think
there was a blanket around the rhino. That's what I remember.
Yeah. So it covered the eyes just to relax it. It had been tranquilized already from the helicopter, and then we on the ground handling it. It was a big white rhinoceros female, a cow, and we had to get her down, and then she's fast asleep, snoring, and then basically we just do some tests, make sure she's all healthy. But we drill a hole into the horn, which is made of keratin, by the way, just like your fingernails. There's no magic to rhino horn. I have to put it out there. It's such a luxury commodity, in certain markets across the world, and they're being poached for it. But it's just pure keratin. You cut it off, it grows back. But we drill a hole in, and we implant a little chip with an antenna, and we put some putty in the hole, fix it up, put some camo tape around, and that rhino will eventually go off and wipe it off, rub it against something rough, a tree, a little piece of whatever, and be on its way. And it allows the guys on the ground to have a good idea on location. So they can just pull up their apps, make sure the rhinos are good. If it hasn't been moving for a long time, send a bit of a report. So guys can then go out and have a look. Is it just sleeping? Is it something worse? Hopefully not. So it's good. And it's a good way to raise awareness, and we get people on the ground. People can pay for it and join in and get hands-on and see what it takes to protect wildlife in Africa sometimes.
That's awesome.
We find it's a lot more beneficial to us and also to donors when they can actually get boots on the ground, hands-on, and see where donations go instead of these places sometimes that say donate and we'll save a rhino. It's nice when you feel like you're saving one yourself.
And you're filming all of this.
Yeah, I was there. We do quite a lot of them. I film everything because it's just so cool. But yeah, the one I sent you, I think I took my son on. You're never too young to witness some cool conservation stuff. So he's 13. He was 12 at the time. But when he's like, it's nice to show your kids what dad does. You hear about it, whatever. But then when you go into the bush for the day and you're on a vehicle and there's choppers flying low and dart guns and chaos going on, and then it's I don't know, it's a lovely bit of insight.
Well, this is what we do with our kids. We protect them for so long, but we don't really. I shouldn't say that. So this is a blanket statement, but we prolong showing our kids how entangled we are with the outside world.
Yeah.
But when the time comes that our kid, we know as kids, right? Our eyes opened up when we saw our parents engage with the outside world as adults. It's a whole new world. But we shelter our kids a little bit too much, I think, in this sense. I can imagine my 12-year-old self going out into the bush and watching my dad partake in something like that. That would change me forever.
I'm hoping that it did. And because I'm friends with the vets and the management guys that are handling this whole operation. My son was right in the forefront of everything. So he's holding the horn, he's mixing the putty for the vet to plug the hole, and it's just those little experiences. As a father, I think all I can do is just give him the opportunity to, I'm not one of those guys that's going to be like, you're going to love the bush and you live in Africa and this is your path, and because. We don't know our path. Some of us, doesn't matter how old we are, we still might be on the wrong one or looking for something better. But if I can plant a small seed and if it sticks with him, then that's great. At least give him the opportunities to do that. And then afterwards, when he was done, I'm like, you want to get in the chopper with the pilot? And we fly back, and he's not knowing that there was even a possibility. And he jumped in the chopper for the first time in his life. And he is a front, there's a small little chopper, and there's a front and there's a back, and I was like, I'm always in these things. So I was like, dude, you want the front seat? And he's just like, he was lit up so much, he was glowing. And as we took off, he made out this little high-pitched squeal almost, because he just said he's never been in a chopper like that. And you take these things for granted the more you do it. And it was just an awesome day. As fathers, I think we recognize core memories before maybe, we would try and create these things because we maybe think back to stuff we remember with our old man.
Yeah.
But I know that would have been something that would stick with him,
I remember, I made a lot of mistakes. I still do make a lot of mistakes, but I made a lot of mistakes when I was a young father. But one thing I do remember as a young father is really enjoying the moments watching my kids when they were little, experiencing or seeing something for the first time, because it was a reminder of when I was exploring and seeing things there is a magic there. There's a reminder of the magic there.
Absolutely. And that, not just with my kids, but with my business and my guests.
Mm.
People have often said to me, like, you do this for a living, like you go on safari, you do these things, like, aren't you tired of, don't you see the same stuff and whatever? And I'm like, it's not that. I never, and I've mentioned to you before, I never thought in a million years I'd be in hospitality background. Yeah, I was like, I want to be rich, I want to be, just work hard and do whatever I want. I don't want to have to deal with people and blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, like when I started getting clients on my vehicle and doing stuff and seeing their appreciation for what I love so much, that became, addictive. And it's a constant reminder at what I'm passionate about. So I fell in love with hospitality, like through and through.
What I gathered from you, because you did kind of tell me this in the ending of one of our last conversations, and I felt it in you because
Yeah.
I wasn't poking or prodding, and then it just came out naturally. And you said, I wrote it down. You said, seeing people, so your guest, seeing people go through eureka moments, and then you pause. I remember I put dot, dot, dot here. Go figure. You're addicted to seeing guests going through this experience.
Yeah. And it's different. There's no one, like I said, I could have 4 people on a vehicle watching one scene play out in front of us. And each one of those individuals is going to take something different from that moment. Or it's
Mm.
going to remind each certain individual about a time in their childhood or something, or maybe one's looking at something beautiful, but one's noticing the smell. I think it's more just being able to put people in situations where their senses are all awakened again. We, like I've mentioned before, we're so conditioned to the life that we live now and the fast pace of the world, and it's go, go, go all the time, and we lose track of ourselves. That I always want to say revert back to analog in a digital world. If we can just unplug a little bit and ground ourselves, you find that you like start to use your sense of smell again properly for what it was intended for back in the day. It's like survival. So when you're in Africa, and I was just away now, in 3 beautiful countries. I was in Zimbabwe, Zambia, Botswana, and then back in South Africa. But we were walking in Zimbabwe in Mana pools where we were a mile away from our vehicle, or the nearest vehicle. We're on foot with big 5 animals, nothing, nothing around us. And I was watching 2 bull elephants just have a bit of a standoff with each other, testing each other out, approaching one another. And they communicate a lot with body language before they come to any blows. There was no blows, a very peaceful moment. The sky was on fire. There was dust in the air. It was like unbelievable. I'm going to send you a picture of this on
Please.
to your WhatsApp, or exactly what I'm speaking about. But it is absolutely insane to be on foot, because every step you make, you are now aware of. You don't step on a stick. You don't step on dry leaves. You don't, because you're like, that's an elephant, and I'm a human being. So it just freaks you out, but in the best way.
How close were you?
20 meters, 20, 30
20
meters
meters.
max.
So it's 60
Yeah.
yards,
Yeah. It's not,
more or
it's
less.
not far away. Um,
Not at all.
Not far away at all.
I mean,
Just filming it,
an elephant, if
chilling.
he wanted to reach you in 60 yards or 20 meters, he can do it
Oh
in
yeah.
three
It's,
3 seconds.
maybe less. Yeah.
So
But that's where you've
yeah.
got to, sorry to interrupt. That's the
No, no, no.
connection. That's the moment where you actually, like, I'll kick my foot into the sand and see the dust fly up and which way the wind's blowing. You always want to stay downwind. You want to look at these certain things. And that's the part that's just so cool, because, you got guests coming from around the world. Doesn't matter what the background is. Usually the background involves owning your own business because of what I do. We stay in luxury places around the world. So
Mhm.
these are high net worth individuals that travel with me. Um, and it usually involves some sort of office, corporate background. So, they're kind of far removed from nature, like in terms of Africa. So
Mhm.
that's where the beauty comes in. You could be this CEO of the most powerful bank in New York, for example. But when you're standing there next to me in Africa, we're just two guys,
You're just a meat sack
and
in shoes.
oh man, and you've got to really tune into where you are at the time. So those are the moments that I find so beautiful. And like I said, people take away different stuff all the time.
So I didn't tell you this, and it's not a big deal, but you, in talking to you, you remind me of all the things, like all the senses I had when I was a kid around or about animals. I
Yeah,
loved animals. I watched every show I could. I was addicted to National Geographic. I had my parents subscribe for me to National Geographic cards. And so I
yeah,
used to collect these cards. They bought a plastic tray for me, and I would categorize these cards by animals and then by country and
that's
so on.
awesome.
And so I was in love with this. I was in love in learning. And this is about 3 or 4 years. Like I was a preteen, something like that.
Yeah,
And fast forward to this podcast. A few years ago, we had a professional photographer as well from Italy. And he became famous in his circles for photographing the fennec fox I think it was in Libya. He was in Libya. It was in North Africa. And I remember that picture in the front of National Geographic, and it's a beautiful picture. But
that's
the
right.
story behind getting that picture was 3 months long. And
Yeah,
he recounted on the podcast how he had to live in a tent, had to live through sandstorms to find and these things are elusive, on and on and on and on. The listener can go to that podcast, that episode. But here, fast forward to today-ish, you told me last time, we were talking about connecting with nature, and you said it's not the image you see, it's what is behind the image that you see.
yeah. And it comes back to social media, that quote. What I put up on my Instagram and whatever, platforms is something beautiful usually, whether it's a video
Mm-hmm.
or photograph. But for me, selfishly, it's a little reminder. What people see when they look at my Instagram, what I see memories. I look at an image that could be 20 years old and I know exactly where I was, what time of day it was, where I was looking for this animal and how I found it, and the resulting image or video that came from that moment. Um, and I try when I post, connect people to the moment more than just a beautiful picture. Um, you know, Usually a piece of beautiful music or a little bit of a nice write-up, but it's almost there. The purpose is to just get people to stop just for a few seconds, even if it's just a couple seconds, to appreciate something beautiful and natural before, your thumb scrolls up and you carry on with your life, you know.
Speaking of memories, you mentioned how you slept in a tree for 4 nights and approached by a lion while you were sleeping in the tree.
Yeah,
Am I right?
yeah. No. The tree was in for 4 nights. It was during training. You obviously sign a waiver, but it's no joke. So when I was still training, I stayed in a place which I won't mention, but it was a beautiful experience. And I stayed in a tree with one other guy. Man, it bucketed down. I think 2 or 3 of those 4 nights, rain. Just lying in this tree, getting absolutely drenched, just like hating every second of it, and then getting over that because you're like, well, I'm here, I'm sopping wet to my socks, there's nothing I can do. And then you find that you adapt pretty quickly in these scenarios, and then you start to appreciate other things, like just being dry in the morning. So you're facing a challenge, and you're in it, and it sucks. And then you appreciate the next morning. The lion was actually, believe it or not, I'm going to shorten the story, but basically I arrived at a location. The only information I had was arrive here as close to 2 p.m. as you can. And I got there like just before 2, and so did this other guy. And the trainer said to us, grab your bottle of water, your backpack, whatever I told you to bring. Have you got everything? We're like, yeah, we think so. Cool, we're going on a walk. Didn't meet anyone, nothing. Got dropped off, went for a walk. This walk was about 4 hours. in pure wilderness. I remember we found a big tree. We lay under the tree. I remember looking up, there's some leaves falling off, birds going nuts around us, could hear everything. It was a very grounding experience. But it started to get late afternoon. And I know as a professional guide and a walking guide, like, you shouldn't be walking out this time. What's going on there? But we knew nothing. And we came to this big open clearing, and she was a female trainer. She said to us, go gather some firewood. We're camping here tonight. So we went, got some wood. And then what happened is her husband joined us about an hour later with a vehicle that was off, like I said, about maybe 10, 15 yards away from us. And we just, spoke, the four of us, around this fire that we made. And it was getting a bit late, and they said, we're going to take this in 2-hour shifts. So husband went first. For the first 2 hours, we slept. I took the next 2 hours, which I think was from about midnight to 2 a.m. And then his wife was meant to go, and then my colleague was going to go the last few hours until morning. And he went, I went, and it's very odd. You're in the middle of nowhere, in the wild, 3 people sleeping around you, lions, leopards, you name it, hyena, they're there. And then I fell asleep. Basically what happened, long story short, is I woke up during my sleep during her watch, and she was smacking on my feet on the sleeping bag, and she was shouting lion. And I remember getting up onto my elbows. I just basically lifted my shoulders off the ground because I'm lying flat on my back, and I'm looking at her. She's shining this light in my face, looking over me. And I remember leaning just over my shoulder like this with my head backwards. This male lion was standing 1.5 meters away from me,
Holy smokes.
just standing there looking at us. And my movement and everyone's movement at that moment startled him. He jumped back a few paces, walked away, turned and looked at us again. And we realized very quickly he wasn't stalking us or anything. I think he's just super inquisitive and curious. He saw these 4 things lying on the ground and wanted to investigate what it was. It's the middle of the night. We were all wide awake after that till the morning.
How can you go back to sleep?
That was night 1 of training. That first night is when we actually went to stay in a tree. So it's, you can't teach lessons nowadays that, and experience you learn in those types of moments. You learn a lot about yourself, about your mind, about what you think you can face and how far you think you can push yourself. So I look at it now and I think it sounds like a lifetime ago, but it was an incredible memory. And yeah, I cherish it. It sounds crazy, but it was one of the best things I've ever had happen to me.
You said the best thing that happened to you was crashing, falling hard on your ass. Those are your words. What's up?
Yeah, plenty times. I just think throughout life, you always think no one wants to fail. It sucks when you do, but and you only realize this down the line, and it's almost comforting once you have. But it's every time when I crashed, from job opportunities to messing up in the bush to relationships to whatever, you only learn a couple years later, most of the time, or a few months down the line, that it's the best thing that ever happened to you. To the point where now, if something happens, I used to panic or fall apart or whatever. I'm talking a couple of years ago, or question why is this happening to me? This sucks. I'm a good person. I did this. I did that. I don't deserve this. To now going, okay, maybe it's not meant for me right now. Just to pause and go, maybe this door's going to open something else. But when you can, it's the biggest weight off your shoulders. When you can just understand that what's for you is for you and timing is everything. I'm not saying sit on your ass and do nothing and wait for these beautiful things to materialize. It doesn't work like that. But if you're working hard towards something and it doesn't work, I've learned that wasn't the right way to go. It wasn't just a different channel. It can be slightly different, but then that, it takes you to where you want to go. It's all about just getting at least, it's all about frequency for me. So if you're in the right frequency, or you're swimming in the right, with the current, things will come easily and what's for you. But until you're in the right space of mind,
What you say there prompts me to think about the story you gave me about the gorillas,
yeah,
and that you had never actually run with gorillas before, but your mindset, your mind frame, it sounded like you were in a flow when you were asked, why don't we do gorillas? You say, yeah, let's do it. And then you went to figure it out.
yeah, I love that.
It's a
I
great
like,
metaphor.
yeah, I have this passion. I get a big kick out of someone giving me a ridiculous request, and going to see gorillas is not a ridiculous request by any means. But at the time in my career, I hadn't done it. I was doing stuff in my own country. I had no idea the logistics, anything about the countries, how to do it, whatever. So that freaked me out a little bit, but it forced me to learn. I could have said, guys, I don't do it, I'm sorry. And they Google someone else that does it,
Mm.
Instead, I was honest. I said, they know me. This is a dream for me. I haven't done it before. I'd love to do it. If you can give me the opportunity to learn and figure it out. And they were like, absolutely. We don't want to do it with anyone else. And that just opened the door and paved the way for, I've done so many gorilla treks now that it's just, I was fortunate enough to take my wife for the first time this year. So,
Oh, that's cool.
so it's
She
just,
finally trusted you.
she trusted me, and she fell in love with the country as well. But we have the business together, and for her, when a client asks, but how do we do this and where do we go and time from this place to that, and then she can and that helps me a lot, that she has the know-how. So a good woman or partner can give you the confidence, or even a good mate, can give you the confidence to do absolutely anything. And I think if you got to surround yourself with the right people. Doesn't matter if it's one person. Initially, it might just be yourself. If you're in a bit of a hole, you've got to be that person to say, I want better for me. What does better mean? Everyone's different. We all have different needs. We all get fulfilled in many different ways. When we talk about happiness, I think fulfillment breeds happiness. Depending on what type of personality you are, you need to find something that you wake up for every day. Travel's a nice thing. Yeah, I find when I know I've got a trip coming up in a few months' time, that helps me get through a lot of other things. So I find, and it's about the curiosity I have in the world. Just okay, there's a new place I haven't been to. I want to see it. What animals does it have? What's it like? All of that. So that's that excitement, but fulfillment is key. And coming back to my partner, I'm very blessed. I'm absolutely blessed. She has seen me come from, when I say nothing, I'm talking from the very beginning, where I had these dreams and aspirations and vision boards and ideas and crazy ideas. And she's been there through absolutely everything, and it's managed to manifest in front of her to the point where she starts to believe in it herself. And that's a victory for me. I've always been a big one for good energy, the right people. But if you can have that little team behind yourself, and like I said, that team could just be yourself in the beginning, and it very often is, you literally, that sounds so cliche. You can literally do anything you want. And I think people are scared to do that these days.
But I'm going to grab a point that you kind of made a few minutes ago, and bring it to the example that you mentioned about your client. So your client just finished doing a tour with you, and presumably they saw and experienced other animals with you. They asked you about gorillas. You don't have any expertise about gorillas, but they said to you, I wouldn't do it with anybody else but you, knowing that you have zero experience. So what is it in that client, in that friend, in that person to have trust in you, even though you've never done something that you've been asked to do? What is it?
I don't know. It feels like a bit of a miracle if I look back. I think, I connected with this family. It was a family of three, and I'm still very close to them. They live in Chicago, and they've been my biggest supporters since day one. And I think it comes down to connecting with people, understanding. You get tour guides around the world that get to show you stuff. I don't like to refer to myself as a tour guide. I'm more like I like to form these spiritual connections between the natural world and people, to just reconnect them to something that I love. And it doesn't have to be Africa; it can be anywhere in the world. Um, but we definitely connected on a level, and I think I took that opportunity where I was just a guide at a lodge. I was young. I was in my mid-20s. And I reached out to them because I felt like I could on while they were with me. And I said, guys, you've made a huge success out of your life. They were very powerful family, but extremely humble and approachable. And I said, I've got some big aspirations. I've got some big ideas. And when I'm ready, I'd like to bounce them off you and, stay in touch. And they're like, absolutely. And they said, if you're ever in the States, you come and see us. And we're not joking. And with my first little bit of money when I could, I said, guys, I'm going to come and see you, and I had never been before. I didn't know what I was going to do. And they picked me up at the airport and, the rest is history. Stayed with them, met some of their friends, spoke about some ideas. And it was slow in the beginning, as all things are, um, because the next booking could come a year later, and usually is the case. But that trust that they had in me from whatever experience I delivered to them in that time was enough to give me the confidence to say, I'm going to do this way. And like I said, it snowballed with gorillas after that because they loved it so much. I had to tell their friends had to do it. And then I got to do it again. And then I knew what I was talking about. Um, so it's everything. Whether it's a partner, a friend, a colleague, that little bit of confidence in you can really help you, I don't know, realize your own sort of greatness or potential. Let's keep it at potential. And not saying that you weren't going to, I could have crashed and burned that gorilla trip horribly, and I didn't, but it could happen. Um, but like I said, I would have at least been in a country I hadn't been in, learned something I hadn't, you know, been open to before. And yeah, I don't know. I feel very blessed. I feel very, very lucky, very blessed. And I continuously feel that way, and it continuously happens.
So you know that, hypothetical, obviously, you know that you're
Yeah.
going to die in a year.
hmm
What, you have 1 year left. What are you going to do?
Look, family is very important to me. I'm a material guy in terms of I like my gear when I'm in the field. I rely on good gear. So, if there's any toys that I don't have or haven't tried, I'd like to try those. But in a nutshell, it would involve travel, complete travel. Probably ticking off like a list of 10 of the most endangered animals that I haven't seen or rare or photographed, something like that. And it could be a bird in the middle of nowhere. It doesn't have to be anything big and scary and hairy. Um, yeah, travel with my partner or my family. Um, a lot of charity work. I'd give everything I have away, I think. I get a love for helping others. Like, I don't know. It's just a close second to introducing people to Africa. But I've always been a bit of a giver. Christmas time for me is always what have I bought for everybody else. I find it quite uncomfortable getting gifts, even though I love
Mm.
them. Just that emotion of opening, and I'm not like it freaks me out a little bit, but rather giving is cool. So yeah, it would involve travel, wild animals, and family. That's it.
That's fair. Um,
Yeah.
If the travel didn't involve wild animals, would you be disappointed?
Look, I think if you got a year left and you know it, I'd try not be disappointed with anything. Every day is going to be an absolute blessing. So there's no time in 1 year to be disappointed or down about anything. I've said to my mom before, just so people know, because I work with wild animals and in dangerous areas, I said, I want you guys to know that if anything ever happened to me, I am so grateful for what I've already done. I've seen things that people will never see in their lifetime. I've experienced things that are incredibly rare. I've been in small boats with hippos and crocodiles. I've been walking mountains with Ethiopian wolves, freezing to death. I've from anything, I don't know, a rare black leopard in the northern parts of Kenya. I found that to white lions in South Africa, to jaguars in Brazil, and everything in between that. I've eaten some incredibly good food, some horrible food. Had some good flights, bad flights, slept under the stars, slept in a tree. It's, what I've been able to do in the last decade is phenomenal in my mind's eye. So I'm so fulfilled right now. Trust me, I've got a lot to do. And if that's in my journey, then great. But if it's not, I'm happy every day.
You told me about a coin drop moment in your life. You remember this?
I've had so many.
Yeah, I know.
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think which one it was.
It was about a pride of lions, ants of a young male, like 2 ants,
Yeah.
young cub.
Mm-hmm.
You want to bring us to that?
Yeah. This is what sent me on a spiritual, if you want to call it a spiritual, I don't know, a spiral. This one moment had me questioning life completely. Life and who I am. So I had guests on the vehicle, very excited, first afternoon out. We came across a young pride of lion, two lioness, a young sub-adult male, about 3 years old. That was a son of one of the females. And the other female had 2 cubs, which would have been his siblings, because I think it was his aunt's kids, his cousins, whatever. And they were stalking a waterbuck, a female waterbuck. And I mean, you can feel the tension in the air when you come across a scene like this. It was right in front of us. And as we arrived, they had lunch and they grabbed onto this waterbuck. Before there was time to like film or anything, it was playing out right in front of us. There was the only vehicle there. There was no one else. And everyone was so excited. You got dust, you got lions, you got this poor thing getting taken down. And it was right in front of my vehicle. Like you got the hood of the vehicle, they were right in front. We were turned off. So every sound you hear, the crashing, the struggle that's happening in front of us. What I realized in that moment is, including myself, I had my tracker, my colleague that helps me find like animals by tracks, and the guest in the vehicle. It was completely silent. A lot of guests want to come in. I want to see action. I want to see bloodshed. I want to see something, catch something else. Until you see it, it's very different. It's going to have a different effect on many different people. It's a very emotional thing watching life and death play out in front of you, because you can't do anything. It's completely wild, and you are just a spectator in the moment. It didn't take long for the animal to pass away. Lions are very good hunters, and they don't suffer. It's a grip on the throat. The animal, slips, I'm guessing probably into consciousness before anything else, and then they, take their last breath before they start feeding. But what I realized in that moment is they opened this animal up almost surgically, with these claws, and everything was so neat and tidy and clean. It was quite a beautiful moment. It was weird. And then watching this play out, it was getting really hot. It was late afternoon, and no one had said a single word. We were just all like lost in this moment. And I watched the moment this waterbuck's life left the body. You could see it in the eyes. one minute she was there, she's alive, she's lived her life up until this very moment. Next second, she's gone. I don't know, where's she gone? It's different when you see it play out in front of you. Now, the lions are still eating, doing their thing. And I remember looking at my arm on the side of my vehicle, and I was sweating. I was looking at my hand, and I saw the veins in the top of my hand, and the ligaments and everything, and my fingers. And I was like, I'm looking at it with this animal that's just been tackled and eaten. I'm looking at my hand, and I'm like, I'm made out of the exact same stuff that animal's made out of. It's just meat and bone. And then I just fell down this wormhole. In this moment, I got guests in the vehicle, and I'm there experiencing this for the first time myself as well. And I was like, who am I? Like, honestly, there's life right there. I'm not better than anything else, but who am I? Who's having these thoughts, whatever? And it just spiraled. So it's interesting. I don't know if you're more open or connected or in touch with certain things, but like one of my guests was like, that was so cool. I got a photo, look at the blood, or whatever. And I was like, now questioning my entire existence from the same moment we were together. So in terms of a coin drop, penny drop moment, it was life altering for me. It really was. I saw things differently. I thought differently. I dug deeper into myself and how easy life can slip away. And would I be happy with my life now? Maybe, maybe not. So yeah, there was a massive moment. And again, it came from nature, complete natural raw nature.
Have you thought about where you slip to once you slip away from your body?
Many times, yeah. Who hasn't? I'm thinking like, part of us, part of me, part of everyone, I think we want to believe that there's this cushy, golden place with floating clouds and all our family, and with it's like bliss, right? It's heaven. What heaven looks like to different people is completely different. But I think that's what I believe. I am religious. I do believe we go to another place, a better place, hopefully. But it's more, as you come to spend time working with nature and being involved in these things, I think it's energy. I've looked at the universe, I've looked at quantum physics, I've looked at parallel universes, and it all makes sense strangely in different ways, if you can understand it. But I think instead of dwelling on all of that, life is very short, and we've got a very limited time here on Earth. We're not even a blip on the radar in terms of actual existence, human existence on this planet. And that's such a comforting reminder to just not sweat the small stuff. Go for whatever you want to do, because there's no time. We're fearful to stand up on a stage and speak to someone or ask someone out that we like, or confront a partner or parents about something that made us uncomfortable, or, it's just, I don't know. I find I'm very fortunate that I think the way I do. Whether it works for everyone, I don't know. I don't think so, because we would all be doing what we love. But yeah, life is so short. I think I told you I lost my father a few years back, and he was my true inspiration to everything I do. We loved the bush. He took me on safaris from when I was literally in a crib as a baby, and so he lived his life in a corporate background, working in a bank, wanting to retire, and at 65, and then travel. And at 60, he had a heart attack. And that was 2022. So January 2022. And I was like, that's it. My dad worked his whole life. I know what he wanted to do. I know what he wanted to see. And that year I traveled everywhere. I went everywhere. Someone said to me, like, I want to go see this. And I'm like, let's go. We literally, I drove into another country to go see a mouse, because I was like, how fun would it be? Like, let's go find this mouse and photograph it. It's a cool mouse. And we did.
What kind of mouse?
it's an elephant shrew. So you got the big five, and then you got the little five, which is named after the big five. So if you got like an elephant, which is a big five, then the elephant shrew is part of the little five, you know? And we went and we had to climb on top of this rocky outcrop at sunset, because that's when you can find them. And we found one and we photographed it. Um, we saw other stuff, which was amazing, but to go, you know, to another country to find this shrew and see it is a feeling only I can appreciate. It might sound ridiculous to someone else, but it was such a cool moment to invest time, money, and everything else that goes into traveling to another country to find this little guy and photograph it, you know? I don't know. Life, you got to enjoy it. You have to enjoy
No,
it.
so I'm with you. I'm following.
Yeah.
Allow me to share a story that we learned from Rudy Shield, who's been uh, one of our favorite guests the last year and a half. He's a retired astronomer, astrophysicist, and he was relating a story to us. I related a couple of times. One of his good friends was an astronaut, Edgar Mitchell, who passed away in 2016, and they were in the car together about 25 years ago. So it's like 2021, and he related to us a story about the conversation they had in the car.
Yeah.
And Edgar Mitchell relates this story about astronauts feeling and seeing things in space. And he said, NASA has a problem because astronauts are coming back having their consciousness or coming back changed. I should say changed, not having a
Yeah.
and he said, and he related one story, and he said, as an example, Edgar Mitchell let him know that there was an astronaut. Once he was in space, his consciousness immediately switched into that of an elephant. And all of a sudden, here he is in space, but he is an elephant, and he is leading his group, his tribe, to a watering hole. And he knows that this watering hole is at a specific place between specific trees near a certain mountain. And he is now in a panic state because he's arrived and it's not there. And he doesn't know how to communicate this to his tribe. So he is living this. His consciousness is living this. And then pops right back into his state as a human being. He's in space.
I get goosebumps from something like that because, I mean, one, you can't make that up. It's ridiculous, it's amazing. But that's where, like I said, it's a wormhole. I could speak about this forever, but there's this interconnectedness between everything. And there's levels, there's layers, like I said, I've been on foot. I can only, relate to what I've experienced myself. But when you're on foot with these animals and there's no vehicle protecting you and it's just you and them, and these animals could kill you, every single one of them, you start to think very differently. You see things differently. It's like being reborn over and over and over again. And when I say reborn, it's like everything you know or have been taught or have experienced, it's just gone out the window. Now you get to have something new is happening to you. And one of the amazing things, and not just with travel, but coming to Africa, like when we are in front of these animals or walking through these forests or whatever it is, you are forced to be present. It's not a mindset, it's not like I'm going to try and enjoy this. Everything around you forces you to be completely present. Whatever issues you had with your relationship or work or stress or whatever you have doesn't exist in those moments because it's almost impossible to worry about something when you're having this. So it's like a reset button. And even for me, who's done this for years, being in the field last week with people that have never been to Africa, was the most rewarding thing I've done and I've done some great things. But again, I got to relive something new through new people, and we made connections that will never be broken. I'm talking about friendships for life now. And that's the beauty of what I do and what I love to share with people. From a story of being connected like that, and I believe without a doubt that he was in that moment. I mean, it's nuts to be, associated with something like that. I used to dream a lot about lions, having these moments, always getting attacked by them. Funny enough, I don't know what that means. I was always with my father or someone, and male lions appeared out of nowhere, and I couldn't get away from them. Always climbing or so. And I don't know if it's just my worry about something at that stage of my life, and it manifests in what I know. But it's that's an incredible experience that he had.
I never thought of this as you were explaining this. I wrote it down because I don't want to forget it.
Yeah.
Being forced to focus when you're there in the bush, amongst animals. It's this is what I wrote down. Maybe animals are meant to be catalysts for us. Like they're meant to be reminders that we need to reconnect and reflect and understand better what we are, never mind just who we are, what we are.
Absolutely.
Like if there were no animals in the bush, you wouldn't be forced to.
Yeah. No, you're just taking a beautiful walk through a beautiful bit of scenery, When you're in a canoe on a river that doesn't have hippos and crocodiles in, you're just on a canoe in a river and you're just paddling away having a good time. Get on the Zambezi River and there's hundreds of hippos around you. And we're talking hippopotamus here, and crocodiles longer than your entire canoe. You are forced to think very, very, very differently about where you are, what's beneath you, where's the nearest exit, just like little things like that. But to be present, you're forced to be present. And those are things like my past guests now. I just got a message from them. They've left, they're on their second flight, they're nearly home, they're back in the States. And they've told me countless times that they are changed. Something in them has shifted and they are different. And that's the beauty of the natural world, no matter where you are. Africa's a big one. It shifts you. It's the home of humankind. I believe Africa, there's something about it. When you come here, there's a connection. It's different for everyone. It's not the culture, the food, the great wine. South Africa, where I'm from, we have incredible food, great wine, great hospitality, good people. But it's a calling. It's different. It's different for everyone that comes out here. When your feet are on the ground, there's no noise. There's no vehicles. You're under the night sky. All you hear are birds and frogs, or crickets, or nothing sometimes, absolutely nothing. And I think in the first day or two, it's a bit jarring, but that's the beauty I get to see. I get to see my guests over a week change in the 2 weeks, because now you, and then the phones get put down after day 2, day 3. What time is it? I don't know. What day is it? I'm not sure. And they just fall back into this bliss. And the craziest thing is, this is what we were given. We're so far removed from it now, but this is what we were given naturally on this planet. So I don't know. So it depends. It's funny the way you look at it, but my little bit of advice: it doesn't matter who you are. If you can ground yourself wherever you are, I used to lie in my garden as a kid on my trampoline and just stare up at the trees. I end up having afternoon naps there. Being outdoors really helped me. And I had to laugh at something I saw the other day, because for punishment for us as kids, we weren't allowed outside.
Yeah, you had to go inside. That's right.
Yeah. You can't go outside. That's our
go
punishment.
To your room.
You send a kid these days and you say, you're punished. Go outside. Make something happen for 2 hours. It's completely flipped on its head.
Oh my God,
like a kid these days would be like, what do you mean I must go outside? That's punishment. There's no Wi-Fi. There's no phone. Go outside and play. Just whatever. Dig a hole in the ground with a stick. I don't care. Just do something. And we used to get punished by not being allowed outside at one stage, you know? So I don't know. It's using all of that to try and my level best. And look, when I say I try to get people to connect, I'm one person on this planet. It's like I said, it's not even a drop in the ocean, it's not a blip. But for my existence now, the amount of joy I get from seeing these people's lives potentially change forever is everything to me. And,
Amazing.
you know, one day I'll be gone and that's it.
I'll just add one more thing. Her name is Marisha. She was on the podcast, Green Witch from California, near LA. And she says one of our problems is that our barriers are sneakers and cement. Sneakers and concrete.
Yeah.
Keep us away from what's real.
Well, physically and, you know, everything else, because physically, if you're not grounded as an energetic being or source, you know how important grounding is walking outside on the grass, just getting your feet on the earth. You connected and you connected. I see the animals. I mean, elephants will literally communicate with this low rumble that can travel kilometers away. We can't hear it physically with our own ears, but they vibrate through the earth and they pick it up through their feet. And that's how these herds come together. They know where to go. They know how to regroup. And, you know, we have that to some extent. We just got to remember where we come from.
Well, I'll add a little bit on this one here too. I think language is part of the problem. Like we invented languages to communicate verbally, but I've been thinking lately, our languages are kind of unnatural because they are an invention. Yeah, they naturally come out of our mouths, our heads, but before language, I'm sure we knew how to communicate.
Absolutely.
Verbal language, I mean.
Yeah. Well, it was probably all done through body language, you know, like I see with animals.
At least.
You know, touch, tactile communication. It's just another wormhole. Like I'm going to finish this episode and I'm going to think about this now. I do this all the time. Like language is made up words that we all come to know and love. You know, some words more than others, but in one way, it's one of the biggest dividing barriers of humankind, you know?
Yeah. 100%. 100%. It's what's mine is mine, was yours is yours mentality, right? That you can't escape that with language.
No.
It's inherent.
I've always said if I could have a superpower, it would be to speak all languages. I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
One of my three genie wishes, you know?
Maybe that's what animals do. They remind us that all of us know one language. We just have to remember. Cameron, it's been lots of fun, man. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. We could speak forever, as you know.
Yeah. And it has been fun. You know, maybe we'll we haven't even talked about some of your projects, but maybe what we'll do is we'll do a nice part 2 soon, and we'll talk about some of the cool things that you're doing.
We got so much to still talk about, and people and experiences. But yeah, absolutely, I'd love to be invited back when you get the time. I'll probably have done some really cool trips by then. I can add some cool stories to it, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, please, and keep sharing on what's up too. We'll put the rhino video, that elephant video, up as well when we launch this episode. And if there's any more that you want us to share, by all means.
Yeah, I think we spoke about gorillas. If there's some media, I can send you whatever you want to throw up while I'm speaking about it. We can do it. You know,
let's do it. Cameron, a pleasure. Thanks, man.